Hello, my name is Gabriel Seiberth. I'm partner at Accenture Digital, and I'm very happy to be able to present you now for the first time the findings of a study that we have conducted together with Bundesverband Digitalwirtschaft about data-driven business models. Actually, if you look at data-driven business models, you will find that 5 out of 10 most valuable brands in the world use that data-driven business models. And they're all going for the connected car, or for the car interface, the consumer interface within the car. So an immediate threat to the automotive industry. But the automotive industry has heard the shot, so you could say. They have all made their homework. They have all come up with strategies. For example, BMW says they want to be the German Apple. And Audi has announced that they want to do half of their business with digital services. They said in 2020. That sounds a little bit futuristic, of course. Question is that possible? We have looked at the figures and have come up with an estimation. We say, yes, it is realistic, actually, but not in 2020, of course, but rather in 2015. But it is possible, so you will see that a substantial part of the revenues of an automaker will, even in the next 10, 20 years, will come out of digital services. And in 2050, this is what we have seen here, it's a 2 trillion business already. And of course, if you have such a business opportunity like that, a lot of companies want to go for that and want to snatch their part of the pie. And the question for the automotive industry is, what is the role? How is we call it rather a value network than a value chain, but how is that network configuring itself? Who will have what part of the value and the value creation? And of course, the most relevant part of the value creation is the customer interface, being the one who is owning the customer journey, how we can say. And if we look again to the most successful company currently in the world, Apple, and of course you're all aware of the new product they have launched these days, and they're interestingly not the ones selling the most phones or the most units in the world. This is Samsung. But what they do, they capture the profits. It's 80% of the profit pools, and last year they were at 92% of the profit pools. They catch the profits. How do they do that? And they actually also monetize it already. They do above 20 billion of revenue already just from transaction fees within the apps that you load on your mobile phone. That is digital business, and it's today. And so I think what we can derive from that is that if you combine, and this is what Apple is doing differently from Samsung, if you combine a superior product with a superior ecosystem, and if you own the interface to the customer and don't give it away to Google, for example, like Apple is doing it with Android, you can go for the profits. And if we look for some kind of a model, it's schematic, of course, but you have the axis where you see the innovation in the product itself, and on the other axis you have the business model innovation, which is the axis which is interesting for us right now. Both are driven actually by data, but of course we are here interested in the business model perspective. And the sweet spot for the OEMs would be combining a superior product with a superior ecosystem. We have looked into a classification of the business models that you could pursue. We found 3. Basically, of course, you will have some variants in it, but 3 basically called it data harvesting, data matching, and as a service. And you can also cut that down, of course, into more narrow pieces. And this is the first time we show it, of course, but it will be in the internet today, I guess. We derived this kind of service domains, and we also looked into, of course, into the values that are behind these service domains. And what you can see is, of course, it is, like you would expect, it is mobility services and connected car service that will be the lion's share, actually 80% of the revenues. But there's a very important piece which the OEMs need to keep in mind, which is the brand or customer journey relevance of a service. Because if we want, again, like Apple, combine really the superior product with the superior ecosystem, the superior experience, this is where we need to look into. So if you have smaller numbers, that doesn't mean that it's not interesting for your brand and your strategy. What we've done with BVDW is we have, of course, conducted desk research, came up with these figures. We also conducted expert interviews. And the question was, is the data-driven business model, is that poised to take off now? Or is it something that we will have in the future, like we're talking about electrical vehicles and autonomous cars and so on? And we have asked, of course, OEMs, but also the ecosystem, more or less. And the first question that we had was, are customers willing to share their data, and are they actually willing to pay for digital services? And the other question, of course, is, are the OEMs equipped with the technologies that it needs to capture this data and this value, which is in this data? And this is the view of the people we asked, and they said yes. Their experience is people are willing to share data, which is actually a finding which is backed by a very large quantitative study that we do. It's called What Drivers Want, and this has the same outcome. So it's consistent. And there's also willingness to pay, of course, if there's a value behind it. But people understand it, and they also understand if they give their data, that they pay with their data and that they want something in return. And the technological readiness is also there to start, but of course there are some important components missing, like, for example, 5G, which would really boost it. And what the key finding of the study is, OEMs are very active. They're very actively pursuing all these kind of business models, but still they're at the beginning, and they're still playing in their home turf. They're still product-centric, which is okay. Like we've seen in the Apple example, the product is of value, and it's also, in my personal view, it's a key advantage over the internet players, because the internet players, they have convenience or access or speed. They cannot have an emotional brand like you can have if you have an emotionalized product, physical product. So, and the OEMs do not use the potential of the revenue models so far. So there's a lot more than selling that one-off as some kind of Sonderausstattung, your service, or just with a transaction fee. There's much more to it. And what we also see is, of course, cooperation is key. And no one can do that alone. This is a notion that you regularly hear in all keynote speeches. But there's even more, and we also heard that from Facebook. You need to reach beyond mobility, because you are 30 minutes in a car on average a day, and your smartphone is in your pocket or on your desk the whole 24 hours, and probably even if you're sleeping, it lies beneath your bed. And so an OEM also need to reach beyond mobility. That's very important, because there's a very large ecosystem popping up. It's not just about wearables and insurance and logistics and, of course, the home, but also energy and family and friends. It's also, of course, something that you would need or would like to capture. And, again, the brand. This is, in my view, it's the key. The key for the OEMs to be successful. And, of course, there's a differentiation between mass market and premium cars. But the brand really is something that you should play. And you should also look at the services from that brand perspective. And this is a different result than if you would just look at the figures and the numbers and the revenue potential behind it. Because it's customer experience, we've seen it earlier, it's not the largest potential. But of course, you can use that to build a loved brand and to augment your car and your product experience with a digital experience. And bringing all that together, these were the findings of our study. First, customers are willing to share data. So the foundation is laid. The collaboration is key. No one can do this alone. OEMs need to transfer their brand into the digital world, into the digital services. They need to embrace an ecosystem. Currently, they don't really have an open ecosystem, and even in the mobility services which they have right now, it's not really embedded into a broader ecosystem. And they also need to experiment more with digital pricing means. It's more about just selling it one-off. And they need to expand, and this is the final thing, they need to expand beyond mobility. Okay, thanks very much. We'd like you to read the study, And if there's any feedback, just contact me. It's myself and Wolfgang Gründiger from BVDW. Thank you.